The voice inside my car. I worked the closing shift at a small warehouse just outside town. Every night I left a little after midnight. The drive home took about 25 minutes, mostly along empty roads surrounded by woods. I actually enjoyed it. No traffic, no noise, just the sound of the engine and the radio playing softly in the background. One Thursday night, I finished work later than usual. It had been raining for hours, and the roads were completely deserted. About 10 minutes into the drive, I heard something behind me. A quiet sound, almost like someone whispering. I turned the radio off. The car went silent for a few seconds. Nothing. Then I heard it again, a low voice, too quiet to understand. I looked into the rearview mirror. The back seat was empty. I even glanced over my shoulder for a second. Nothing. I laughed at myself. I figured I was just tired. I turned the radio back on and kept driving. A few minutes later, the whisper returned. This time it sounded closer, like it was coming from directly behind my seat. I pulled over, opened both rear doors, checked the floor, checked the trunk. There was no one, no animal, nothing that could explain the sound. I got back in and continued driving. The rest of the way home, I kept hearing it every few minutes. Always too quiet to understand. When I finally parked outside my apartment, I sat there for a moment. The whisper came one last time. Only this time, I understood a single sentence. Don't look behind you. Every hair on my body stood up. I grabbed my keys, jumped out of the car, and locked it as fast as I could. I didn't even take my bag. The next morning, I told myself I had imagined everything. To prove it, I checked the footage from my dash cam. The camera records both the road ahead and the inside of the car. I skipped through the video until I reached the moment I'd first heard the whisper. The back seat looked empty. Then, frame by frame, something slowly appeared. A dark figure, sitting perfectly still behind me. Its face was impossible to make out. It never moved. It never blinked. It simply sat there. Watching me, it stayed in the back seat for the entire drive home. The strangest part, every time I checked the mirror that night, there was nothing there. I deleted the footage immediately. I sold the car a week later. But sometimes, when I stop at a red light after midnight, I still catch myself checking the rear view mirror, just to make sure the back seat is empty. Someone knocked at 3:12 a.m. I've never been a light sleeper. Even loud thunderstorms usually don't wake me up. But one night, I was jolted awake by 3 slow knocks. Knock, knock, knock. I reached for my phone. 3:12 a.m.? I figured someone had the wrong apartment. I walked to the front door and looked through the peephole. The hallway was completely empty. No footsteps, no elevator noise, nothing. I shrugged it off and went back to bed. The next night, it happened again, 3 knocks. Exactly 3:12 a.m. This time, I opened the door immediately. The hallway was empty, the motion sensor lights were on, but no one was there. I even checked the stairwell, nothing. By the 3rd night, I was waiting. At 3:11, I stood quietly by the door. My hand rested on the doorknob. Then, knock, knock, knock. The sound came from the other side. I threw the door open before the last knock had finished. No one. But something caught my eye. Wet footprints. Bare human footprints. They started right outside my apartment. They didn't lead away. They led toward the stairs. I followed them down 3 flights, The prints ended in the middle of the lobby. There was nowhere else they could have gone. No doors, no exits, just gone. The next morning, I asked the building manager if anyone had been outside my apartment the last few nights. He looked confused. Then he asked, "Are you in apartment 312? I nodded. He sighed. "A tenant died there years ago. They found him after the neighbors complained about knocking sounds. He had been trying to get help." I laughed nervously. It sounded like another old apartment story. Still, I checked my security camera. At exactly 3:12 a.m., the hallway appeared completely empty, but the audio captured every knock, loud, clear. 3 perfect knocks, no footsteps, no voices, nothing else. I moved out 2 months later. I thought that would be the end of it. Last week, I woke up in my new apartment. I reached for my phone. 3:12 a.m. Then I heard it. Knock. 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 This time, it came from my bedroom door.